Hello, my name is Jeremiah Keith, and this is my podcast over St. Iggy by K.L. Going. Imagine living in a world where one's mom, a meth head, is never home. One's dad is constantly drunk, beating the innocent mother. Or maybe not innocent, but to the reader, she is the world. And the child, the underestimated kid at school, the one everyone looks down upon, laughs at. The one constantly getting in trouble, always in fights, always angry, mad at the world, at one's parents, at life. This is the life Igman Corso, or as he likes to be called, Iggy, lives. A life where he is terrified of what will happen next, scared his dad's ruthless drug dealer will knock on his tattered door, terrified of the world outside. And now imagine placing on top of all of that, getting kicked out of school, maybe permanently, because of something a teacher assumed one did or were going to do. Imagine having to leave the only thing going for one. And even though one wasn't doing great in it, it was the only escape from the mess going outside of one's home. These are the thoughts one may imagine, feel, when reading the exceptional novel St. Iggy by K.L. Going. All of these detailed underlying images that pop into the reader's head while reading the story. St. Iggy by K.L. Going kept readers visualizing stories and occurrences with this intriguing energy and interesting style. The characters Going is able to create are as creative as an artist. Different characters help to mold the story into what it is. The first character readers are introduced to is Iggy Corso. He is the main character, the kid in school who is in a never-ending cycle of trouble, whether it be fights or confrontations or suspensions or all the bother. Mo, his best friend and what seems to be his only friend, is a college law school dropout who had so much going for his life, but let it all fall by the wayside. Mo was blessed with wealthy parents who seemed to always be there for him, but his dad is a cheater. Mo attempts to convince his sweet mother that his father, who is always on business trips, is cheating on his wife, but Mo's mom is convinced that Mo should look at the brighter sides in situations, and she still loves her husband anyways. On the other hand, Iggy's parents are in a totally different situation. His mom is a crackhead who's never home. His father is a lazy drunk with a drug dealer named Freddie, who proves to be a very important figure in the story. The final main character is Iggy's Principal Old Smokes, one of the few people who has hope in Iggy. The story takes place in a large city with a huge ghetto and a huge area for the rich. Iggy lives in the projects with his mom and dad. Living on the 15th floor of a building definitely has its pros and cons, and readers will understand where that comes from in a later stage. The world that Iggy lives in seems like a totally different world than the one I live in now. The sights Iggy sees, the neighbors he has, and one being Maria, the Hispanic lady with a loud baby, and the availability to everything around him being walking distance, makes Iggy's world very sentimental. This creates a lot of solitary time for Iggy, a lot of time he gets alone and in peace, away from the bustling in his home. And now since he has been kicked out of his school, he has more time to be alone, be solitary, be himself. Imagine having a dad who is constantly drunk, and a mom who is never home. The day Iggy was kicked out of his school, he ran home to find his lazy dad sleeping on the nasty couch, which seconds as Iggy's bed. He refused to wake his father, but had intentions to tell him what happened at school that day. That day, Iggy was walking into his Spanish class, which he skips constantly, but went in that day after following a hot girl. When his teacher, who did not know who he was, confronted him, he attempted to prove to her that he really was in that class. The reader should be able to infer what happens next, but it is a real surprise. The teacher, already mad at Iggy, is about to call the principal when Iggy reaches into his pockets, or maybe just puts his hands in them. That's when his teacher assumes he is pulling out a weapon, calls the cops and the principal. Iggy goes to the principal's office, and the principal tells him that it's time for him to get kicked out. During the book, a reoccurring character showed to be extremely forgiving, Moe's mother, Joan. She was portrayed to be extremely humble and forgave not only Moe's rebellious acts, but her cheating husband who proved his unworthiness. He had a family in California that knew about Moe and his mother. Instead of being hurt about it, Moe's mom decided to move on. These behaviors are shown in many Christ figures who believe that stopping and dwelling on the negatives will not have any positives on the effects of moving forward, and forgiveness is key. The plot of St. Iggy is one that really stood out to me. The story was extremely focused on Iggy attempting to get back into school, but multiple smaller stories were woven within the main story like yarn. Whether it be Iggy's conquest to find his mother who left again, maybe for drugs, or helping Moe pay back Freddie, the drug dealer, who happened to be Iggy's dad's dealer. The plot of St. Iggy was in many places, making the story just that much more interesting and enjoyable. Iggy was struggling to get back into school, and almost forced that struggle on Moe's mom, who he was staying with, and Moe, who was with him at his mom's house before heading into the hearing. He wanted to do something good, something that would change the world, so he could have something positive to say at his hearing. The thing is, was what he really did that good? The style of St. Iggy was one different from many other books that I have read. The author was able to incorporate a little humor with a little bit of seriousness, with a little edge, and chose not to reveal the answers to a myriad of the questions or incidents that happened in the story. The author, on many occasions, showed readers a visualization of what Iggy was thinking, how he wanted things to happen, and how he imagined them in the form of dialogue in Iggy's mind. This implementation added a whole new dimension to the story and aided readers' engagement in the story just that much more. The story has a way with teaching young readers copious life lessons. Instead of the cliche "don't give up" lesson portrayed in many teenage models, Going explains something not many authors present. She powerfully and eloquently teaches the lessons of following one's heart and to be the individual inside. She explains that it is okay to be a little different, and that with a little hard work and dedication, one can go far. This lesson is extremely powerful, especially in today's society. Iggy aspires to do something to change the world he lives in. He is constantly attempting to find something great to show up at his hearing. He longs to prove to the adults that he can do something exponential, that he can change the world. This novel really connects with modern-day students in America. Many students, although are not kicked out of school, are pitted with finding a place in this world and are constantly trying to please the adults in the world around them. This gives the youth a challenge of trying to please the adults around us, attempting to please the adults around us, attempting to show our place in this world. This book coincided with my life and the fact that Iggy spends